about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for abasements. Yeah, I lost my way, but I hear tell about a heaven in Alberta, where they've got all hell for abasements.
Hi, everyone. Frankie here. New West Reset. Hello. Welcome back. And thank you very much for shooting in. Joining a fella here for another one. Another live one, as a matter of fact. New West Reset Live. Episode 71 here today. So thank you very much for joining me here. Appreciate it, as always. Hope everybody's doing A-okay. So it is Friday, June 21st, 2024. It's Friday, so thank you very much for kicking off your weekend here with yours truly. Beautiful day today. It was hot. It was a little windy, but tends to be windy around here, but it was hot, sunny. Even right now, it's still 22 degrees Celsius. That's mid to high 70s Fahrenheit. Is that right? Yeah. Birds are chirping. Big blue skies. We do have I think because of as mentioned, with it being windy, it's blowing in some clouds. And I think we do have a severe thunderstorm warning starting in an hour at 6 p.m. local time. That's mountain time out here, you see. So I don't know, maybe the interwebs might just at some point during the show. Fingers crossed that shan't be the case. Anyway, how's everybody doing? Say hello in the chat, in the box. Let me know where you're shooting in from and how you're doing and all that. We got Cousin Vinny here. Cousin Vinny in the box, because you get your Frankie fingers, and you get your Cousin Vinny. Eh?
So now you know what I'm talking about with the whole New West Reset thing.
No.
What?
No.
What I said about Frankie Fingers. That Frankie Fingers and New West Reset are the same.
Wait, what?
Oh yeah, she don't stand no cheating. She don't stand none of that.
Who else we got? Wow, our old friend Billy Philly is in the box. Howdy, howdy, howdy. From Vegas, eh? Vegas there. Wow, 110. Wow, yeah. So when I'm saying it's hot here, it's all relative, right? Because, 110 is... wow, that's hotter than Satan's taint. Anyways, good to see you, old friend. Speaking of old friends, Marit is here as well. Marit from Hidden Up Plain Sight. Hello, hello, howdy. Chassis Nix in the box as well. Good to see you, Chassis. Toidle. Toidle's here, right there. Toidle. Good to see you, Toidle. Thanks for joining. It was 106 at 20 after 10 this morning in Mississippi. Down in the Ole Miss. You notice how even a Canadian knucklehead like yours truly here, I know how to say Mississippi properly. Mississippi. Mississippi. That's all you got to say, man. Mississippi. Right? You don't have to get it. We are down in Mississippi. People from Mississippi don't say Mississippi. At least not that I know of. Right, Phil? Phil's here. Phil Henry in the box as well. Howdy. Good to see you. So as mentioned, episode 71 here tonight. Can you believe it's 71? 71? That's quite a few under a feller's belt already. Thanks for joining me. Appreciate it, as always. Tonight, we're going to be looking at phony houses, but real train stations in Toronto, in and around Toronto. The top half of the show is going to be the phony houses, which this was completely new to me. This is based randomly on something that just came up in my feed here on the HooTubes. You know, you first log in, boop, takes you to the homepage, and you can just look and you see, you know, stuff that YouTube throws at you. You know, it's throwing stuff at the wall, see what sticks, right? There was this video called The Fake Houses of Toronto or something like that. I'm like, what's this? So I clicked on it, of course. Hey, settle down out there with your motorcycle. I'm trying to do a show here. Yeah, sorry about that. Anyway. And apparently in Toronto, well, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but there's these phony houses in Toronto that serve a purpose other than residential homes, put it that way. So I thought that was crazy weird. I'd never seen or heard of that before. I've got an uncle that lives in Toronto. I've been to Toronto many times, including fairly recently-ish, you know, as in the last 10 years, you know. Big city. I mean, Canada's biggest city. One of the largest cities in North America's. But definitely up here in Canadian land she's a big one up there, eh, bud? Old Toronto, the T-dot, O-dot. Big city. So, I mean, I guess I shouldn't be surprised that they're different and weird over there. Anyway, we're going to be looking at that at the top half of the show. Second half of the show, after I give you a sneak peek at your upcoming midweek vintage footage Wednesdays. Second half of the show, I'm going to share some pictures shared to me from another channel friend, George Prokopenko. George is excellent at sending me emails with links to tons of photographs on different websites as is. Anyways, he shared a bunch of few old train stations in and around Toronto. Excuse me, including Toronto's Union Station number 1, and then Toronto's Union Station number 2. One built in the 1850s, the other built in the 1870s, I believe. Well, anyway, we'll get into that in the show, as well as just some cool pictures of railroad stations elsewhere in and around Toronto. Some bridges. I think there's even a couple of photographs there of trolleys and streetcars, you know. So we're going to have a look at that as well. What's going on here? The natives used to say the H instead of S. Really? Mihihipi? Mihihipi? Huh. I mean, 106 in Mississippi, 110 in Las Vegas, I guess in Nevada in general. I mean, that's hot. It rarely gets that hot here. Maybe at the height of summer for a couple of days, maybe a week. But it's a dry heat. So, you know, we don't have that brutal humidity. I remember as a kid when I still lived in Montreal, super humid, right? In a hot summer, that humidity, It's just enough to drive a guy bonkers, you know. You feel like you can't cool off at all. As soon as you get out of the shower, within 13 seconds, you feel like you're all sweaty and you hadn't showered at all. Kind of, sort of. I mean, we have those here because they film a lot of Western movies here in southwestern Alberta. So there's a couple of Wild West towns set up. One most notably was set up for the movie The Unforgiven, starring and directed by Clint Eastwood. One of the greatest Westerns ever made. And that was shot real close to here in Calgary. And it's still set up. And that's where it has the fake fronts of the buildings. And it's just props, basically, or set design. Some of them are actual buildings so that you can shoot inside, right? Like a saloon and so on. But most of the other buildings, yeah, it's just the fake frontage. So it's kind of like that, kind of, sort of, but not really. Yeah, you'll see what I mean. If you haven't already, by the way, consider giving a fellow one of these. Thumbs up if you're liking the shenanigans and the jackassery here so far. Plus, it just helps to push a guy out into the YouTube a little bit, you know. We get these peaks and valleys with people finding the channel and being able to view the uploads, you know. Every Sunday, boots on the ground. Every Wednesday, vintage footage videos. And every Friday, the live show, like right now. Thank you to everybody who's already subscribed and shared. And if you're watching this after the live, thanks for your support as well. Really appreciate that, as always. And once again, as a reminder, fellers, email, MeWe, BitChute, Rumble, links for everything down in the description below. So if you've got some photos you want to send a guy, the email's down there. If you got, I don't know, any interesting links or anything going on, yeah, send them my way. Also in there is my location map. Cousin Vinny set that up. All of my boots on the ground videos here in Calgary and other parts here in Purdy, Alberta, in southern Alberta here, are linked on there. You just click on my icon and it takes you to the vidya. And, you know, if you want to throw a guy a couple of pieces of 8, there's a PayPal link down there as well. Now, big news. Old World, Michigan is in the box. Howdy, howdy. More big news. 2 days. 2 days and counting. 1,500 subscriber meetup and mudflood tour. We're going on walkabout in Inglewood, one of the oldest neighborhoods here in Calgary. I'm going to do a little walk around and a little looky-loo. Take some video footage. Last summer, it was Stephen Avenue, historic Stephen Avenue, downtown, from about 6th Street Southwest all the way to Old City Hall on 1st Street Southeast/Center Street. It's kind of funny because the McLeod Trail, but it divides at one point. Anyway, this I think is going to be as good, if not better. I would say probably a larger variety of different types of buildings. We're going to see brick, sandstone, but we're going to see things like, you know, sort of the main high street and old buildings, commercial buildings, old residential apartment buildings. But we're also going to see old fire stations, old schools, old churches. So there's going to be a lot for a guy to hook his ocular sphericals onto, you know. So maybe bring a pair of binoculars and, you know, a clickety-clicker camera thing or something, you know. I know I am going to be bringing the recording device. I got a new phone, everybody. I'm going to be able to zoom in on stuff now and all that. So that'll be great. So if you would like to join me, this thing's 2 days away now. Sunday, June 23rd, 2024, 1 p.m. for the meetup. I would love to have you if you would like to join us. Just shoot me a line, email, okay? Just send me an email, and we can keep in touch. and I can give you further details and so on and whatnot. So if you're local, we'd love to have you. Would love to meet you. We'll grab a coffee. We'll do walkabout and look at some beautiful old world structures. Then afterwards, I don't know, maybe we'll grab bite to eat, wobbly pop or something or whatever. So I don't know. Now, if you're from out of town, but you think you're going to be in Calgary on Sunday, the 23rd of June, same thing, man. Shoot me an email, man. Or miss. Ladies and gentlemen, let a guy know. I'd love to have you. It was a good time. It was a good time. We had a good time last year. Cousin Vinny was there last year. Yeah, I got a new phone. It's got like a super long battery life comparatively to my old phone. Yeah. And it's got a lot more memory. Plus, I'm going to bring my old phone fully charged as a backup anyways, just in case. And I'm also going to end up picking up one of those things that you have too there, Vinny, the power pack thingies. What are those things called? You know what I'm saying. Those little power things. The things. Oh, I appreciate that. And I know there's a lot of folks that used to live in Calgary and now they don't. Or they used to live close to Calgary where they could make it, within an hour or whatever drive, right? And now they don't. Then they're like, dang it. And I appreciate that. Who knows, right? As we move forward with the channel and as we get bigger and better and move along, who knows, right? Could end up doing a meetup somewhere else outside of Calgary. Who knows? Who knows? Oh, geez, thanks. Frankie's even more fun in person, people. Come if you can. I appreciate that. It's very kind of you, Cousin Vinny. Cousin Vinny's a great guy to hang out with. We have very cool conversations, very intellectual. Cousin Vinny's a bit of an egghead, okay? Whereas me, not so much. But fascinating discussions about the old world and just theories on the realm or the world itself and catastrophes and resets and theories like that. But Cousin Vinny is also hilarious. So we have a lot of laughs too. And that's what it's all about. And that's why these meetups are so fun. And that's why I just use these benchmark subscriber numbers. It's just an excuse really to go, oh, it's summer, time for another meetup. Meet a bunch of people, have fun, and have a look at some old world beauty. And doing it up here in Canada land, the summer's the best time to do her, eh? Because otherwise she's too cold, eh? We're not going to meet up in January there, bud. It gets dark at like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, eh? It's like -30. The wind is howling. There's 2-foot snow drifts. Nope, summer. It's going to be hot, though. That's the thing. A couple of heads up. It's going to be hot. It's going to be 30 degrees Celsius. So that's the mid-90s Fahrenheit. So that's hot. So sunblock and bring some water. I'm going to bring water and extra water just in case. But yep. And there's, it's a mudflood walkabout. So there's going to be a lot of walking. So wear some comfortable shoes.
I'm going downtown, and I'm gonna buy me something to do.
Anyway, so that is that. And that is coming up Sunday, June 23rd, 2024. 2 days from now. Beautiful. Oh, yeah. And sunblock. And wear a hat. Yes. All the stuff that you should do when it's hot out. All right. Now, a little bit of sad news. Just for me, kind of personally. And, well, I don't know. Maybe across Canada land, maybe. But for me personally, because he's one of my favorites, Donald Sutherland died. And I keep wanting to say Sir Donald Sutherland, but I don't think he's been knighted, which I think is kind of a shame. Not that it really means much, but, throw a Canadian thespian of critical acclaim and legendary renown. Throw him a knighthood, will you? Jeez, you don't even have to be British anymore. You know, Canada, formerly part of the Commonwealth, anyways. So but anyways, yeah, Donald Sutherland died. He was 88. Bless him. Godspeed, Donald Sutherland. Take off, eh? Take off to the great white north up in the sky there, eh, bud? Oh, man. So I thought I'd just share something real quick here. This is just from, I don't know, global news. Here on the WhoTubes, their WhoTube channel. And have a look at this here real quick. The disappearing act here as well.
With Donald Sutherland's inner calm, you just never knew. The dulcet voice could be vulnerable.
Do you love me? Do you really love me?
Or veiled evil.
We both know I'm not above killing children, but I'm not wasteful.
Or just oddball.
It's still up.
That was the name of his character in Kelly's Heroes.
No, it ain't.
You have an unusual look.
Unusual, yeah, that's for sure.
Sutherland didn't look destined for stardom. Born in New Brunswick, moved to Nova Scotia, earned degrees in engineering and drama in Toronto. He preferred drama, first on stage, then bit parts in film.
Everything quiet here, sir.
In his first big film, The Dirty Dozen, the director singled him out, the part of a dimwit.
Without even knowing my name, he just looked down and said, "You with the big ears, you do it."
Big ears and all, his career took off, playing the unruly military doctor in MASH. So versatile, Sutherland was sought out by renowned directors, from John Sturges to Federico Fellini, for whom he played Casanova.
Can't you see anything except in terms of how it affects you?
He starred in the Oscar-winning Ordinary People and in blockbusters like JFK.
Who has the power to cover it up?
Always seeking authenticity in his characters.
You know, the truthfulness of the character and the joy in discovering that. That's been the great happiness of my life.
Discovering that truth earned Sutherland 2 Golden Globes and an honorary Oscar.
I wish I could say thank you to all of the characters that I've played.
Sutherland married Canadian actress Shirley Douglas. Their son Kiefer went on to stardom. He had an off-screen relationship with Jane Fonda, and then married another Canadian, Francine Rassette.
Love is forever.
Sutherland remained deeply connected to Canada, whether on stage in Toronto, playing Norman Bethune on film, or honoring with Kiefer the National Film Board at the Academy Awards.
The film board is an intrinsic element in the fabric of Canadian culture and tradition.
And sure enough,
He didn't look like a star or even the guy next door, but Donald Sutherland was an original, and because of that, the characters never stopped coming his way. Eric Sorensen, Global News, Toronto.
All right, so there it is. Canadian legend, eh? A Canadian legend. But, hey, 88, had a pretty full life. So, but yeah, it's just kind of too bad because he's been acting right up until, he bought the farm, right? So, it's going to be weird not seeing any movies with Donald Sutherland anymore, especially because he does have that distinct look. He's got those crazy Gary Sinise looking eyes, if you know what I'm saying. But I kind of dig his look with the beard and the mustache, and when he grows his hair long and stuff, you can always just tell Donald Sutherland. Just by a quick glance, you're like, oh, there's Donnie. Yeah, he was in Animal House. Was he in 3 Days of the Condor too? Wow. Jabberoo Joe in the box. Howdy, howdy. Yeah, well, I mean, that's just that's one of those movies, right? Like They Live and The Thing and many others that kind of speak to social experimentation and mind control and propaganda and brainwashing and all that kind of stuff, right? Oh, yeah, he was great in that. Yeah. Mr. Beast fan in the box. Good to see you. Thanks for shooting in. Appreciate it. Jabberoo Joe says he met Kiefer in Australia. Wow. Huh. Crikey. I never met Donald or Kiefer, and they filmed the Western that they were in together out here somewhere, if I'm not mistaken. Or maybe they filmed that Western there in Australia. Anyways, yeah, that's kind of a bummer. One other thing to share with you real quick. This kind of goes hand in hand, kind of sort of with what Chassie was saying, because she says, I didn't know it got that hot up there. Oh, yeah, we can hover close to 100 Fahrenheit there, eh? For sure. And that's just here in Alberta. In British Columbia, it gets hotter. And then they get the humidity because they're right on the Pacific Ocean, right? And that moist air gets trapped. It comes off the ocean and it gets trapped up against the mountains that are to the east and sort of border British Columbia and Alberta. Well, there's a series of mountains, but Rockies being the largest. So yeah, they get hot and humid out there, even in the Okanagan Valley, in the Fraser Valley. It gets like super duper hot, eh? Like extra hot. Close. Close. I mean, the sun sets here. By the way, happy belated summer solstice. The first day of summer? First day of summer was yesterday, the 20th, right? But yeah, within this, the longest day of the year is the sun will set here at 10:30 at night. It would probably be lighter out a little later than that, but we've got the Rockies to the west, so those last 45 minutes or so are blocked by the mountains. And then same thing in the winter, right? Like 4 o'clock, 3:45, really? Yeah, 3:45, 4 o'clock. It's, not quite dark, but it's, by 4:30, it's dark. So yeah. Anyway, I want to share something else with you real quick, getting back to the weird stuff that people didn't know about Canada and about, here in Alberta especially, is this video is from a couple of weeks ago. And this is from Live Storm Chasers YouTube channel. And it's a really weird tornado in Edinburgh, Alberta, which is sort of mid-central Alberta, sort of on the southern end of central Alberta, if I'm not mistaken. Anyways, let me... So first of all, not a lot of people knew that we got tornadoes here, and Alberta is, definitely tornado alley for Canada. Alberta and Saskatchewan. Manitoba gets some too, but anyways, yeah, check out this weird, very anomalous looking tornado up here in Purdy, Alberta, in Canada land, eh? You ever seen anything weird like that before? I don't know about you, but I've never seen anything like this before in my life. I've seen some crazy live captured tornado footage, twisters and whatnot, but freak hailstorms and freak thunderstorms and stuff like that, for sure. But this is just strange. right? In the voice of Johnny Carson. Oh, that's weird, wild stuff. Oh, I don't do a good Johnny Carson impression. I wish I did. Then the old, old McMahon and good McMahon laughing. Oh. My Johnny Carson ends up sounding a bit like Robert Kennedy. Bobby Kennedy. There you go. You get the idea. Weird, man. Weird. By the way, that weird little blue house comes out of that thing just fine. But odd looking, no? I don't know. That's what I thought. Anyway, let's get into this thing here with the show here now. We're talking about Toronto. Do I even need to show you where it is on the goggle machine for the maps? Probably not, but we might as well review here. Whilst we're here, So, of course, there's Purdy, Alberta right there. Here's Calgary. Here's Truly's stomping grounds. Way over here in Ontario, we've got Toronto down here in the lower Great Lake Peninsula region poking down in here. So that's what we're going to be looking at here because there's some odd things with this fake houses. So this is from a guy's YouTube channel called Not Smooth Steve. Not So Smooth Steve. Not Smooth Steve. Vaughn's in the box. Good day. How you going? Winter solstice here yesterday. A balmy 2 degrees getting out of bed. What? 2 degrees Celsius? Actually, it's been chilly here overnight and early in the morning. Now that you mention it, I think it was +6. It went to a low of +6 Celsius last night, which is the mid-40s Fahrenheit, there in abouts. Oh, yeah, they just say different air currents of warm air and cold air and high and low pressure zones collide, and they form this vortex, and then it becomes this massive destruction and lightning. And, it's this weird stuff. To me, the hail, when it's hail the size of, I don't know, this, like softball, like, you have a baseball, then a softball sized hail. Like, what in the hell? You know what I'm saying? That coming down out of the sky at you, that's just not fun. That is not fun whatsoever. Anyway, let's take a look at this video I found. And again, this thing just randomly popped up in my YouTube feed. And I was like, what is this? And it's the title of it is Toronto's Fake Houses. And the YouTube channel is Not Smooth Steve. He's based out of Toronto.
I'm standing in front of this lovely house in Leaside, beautiful neighborhood, and you might be thinking, that looks like a house I'd like to live in.
All right, let me just make sure you can hear that okay. Yeah, you can. Okay, good. Let me know in the box if I can adjust the volume in any way, shape, or form. Yeah, that's right. Toronto, not Toronto. That's the band. There's a rock band, a Canadian rock band. with the lead singer whose name was Holly Woods. That's right, Holly Woods was her name. And that band was called Toronto, but the city, Toronto. Anyway, let's see what Not Smooth Steve has to say here. He's right, first of all, about the house. That looks like a house I'd like to live in. Yeah, nice little brick house with some stone foundation work and whatnot. Let's see what's going on here. Because, by the way, this floored me. I was like, wait, what? What? I'd never heard of this before in my life.
But this is not the house you're looking for. Why not? Come along and let's find out.
I recently saw a video by Jeff Marshall in which he went to a fake...
I'll tell you, he might not be smooth, but he's definitely sweaty. He could be severely sweaty, Steve. Must be a hot, humid day in Toronto. Anyway. And nice extreme close-ups, Dave.
House in New York.
I don't mean to make fun of him. This is actually a great little video. So I'll stop interrupting, or at least try.
City that's part of the subway system. And that prompted a couple of funny tweets, show them over there, from another YouTuber named Tim Traveler.
Did you catch that? I wasn't paying attention myself.
And that prompted a couple of funny tweets, show them over there.
There we go, okay.
From another YouTuber named Tim Traveler. And that made me think, well, Toronto has some fake houses too. And I'm standing in front of one of them right now. Now, it looks like an ordinary house in an ordinary neighborhood. But wait, what's that on the door?
Zoom in. Enhance. Ah, this isn't a house. It's an electrical substation. In the decades after World War II, a lot of neighborhoods of primarily single-family houses were built in Toronto. Houses need electricity, and that needs substations. But nobody wants to live next door to an ugly industrial-looking collection of transformers and wires. So the local electrical utility, Toronto Hydro, built fake houses to disguise them. There's a chain across the driveway to try to keep people from using this as free parking, and to make sure that when workers come to do maintenance on the electrical equipment or the property, the space will be available for them to park their trucks.
Now, when I heard that, I was like, wait, what? Wait, what? That doesn't make sense.
What?
Well, I mean, the idea of it makes sense, but I'd never heard of that before in my life. And I'm looking at the house, and I'm like, wait a second, I mean, if you didn't know, you would never know, kind of thing. Like, am I crazy? Really? Old World, Michigan says we got a few of these in my town too, built in the 80s. Huh. Because Vinny says that he's got a pretty, Steve's got a smooth shave. Oh yeah, see, that's right. That that would be just karma coming back to punch a guy right in the lips, As he finds out that I made this video and featured his video in my video or in my stream. First of all, hopefully he doesn't copyright strike me, but this is fair use now. Come on now, Steve and YouTubes. It's fair use here. We're critiquing and commenting on. Anyway. I mean, the idea is great, but not every Canadian city does this, at least not that I know of. I mean, I've seen electrical transformers, and I mean, they try to put it, maybe a small park or green space with some trees between it and the houses on either side of it or something, but, there it is, right? Whereas here they apparently, supposedly built houses around them. But anyways, moving on here. Let's continue and see what's the what.
System. And that prompted a couple of funny tweets. Show them over there.
Neighborhoods of primarily single-family houses were built in Toronto. Houses need electricity, and that needs substations. But nobody wants to live next door to an ugly industrial-looking collection of transformers and wires. so the local electrical utility, Toronto Hydro, built fake houses to disguise them. There's a chain across the driveway to try to keep people from using this as free parking, and to make sure that when workers come to do maintenance on the electrical equipment or the property, the space will be available for them to park their trucks. Now let's head over to a different neighborhood. Our next fake house is just off the Danforth, and as you can see, it's a different design. Toronto Hydro could have just designed one fake house and cloned it everywhere across the city, but instead they came up with lots of different designs to try to fit into the various neighborhoods. Very neighborly, really. And when you think about it, these fake houses are probably pretty good neighbors. You never have to worry about this house having a loud party at 3 a.m., or being turned into an Airbnb, or a crack house, or a meth lab. Now off we go to another neighborhood where we'll see a side of these fake houses we haven't seen yet.
I'm standing in front of the public library in Victoria Village. It's a pretty typical post-war neighborhood. Quiet, tree-lined streets, single-family houses, and a Toronto Hydro fake house. Let's go around back and have a look. And here's the back of the house. As you can see, the back wall of the house is actually only part way back. The side walls extend farther back, and there's an empty bay in the back where there used to be equipment. You can see right there the concrete pad that it was on. Google Earth shows that until a couple of years ago there was equipment in here. It's gone now. Over the last couple of decades, Toronto Hydro hasn't been building these, and in fact they've been tearing some of them down because due to advances in technology, they don't need as many of them anymore. Whether they're going to get rid of this one or whether all the equipment they need is inside the house, they would know. I don't know. But what I do know is empty space, kind of boring. So let's go take a tour in another part of the city.
So not all of them, I think, are open like that in the back, because we're going to do this here after this little video. We're going to do a little goggle map drop. We're going to drop like a little man down and have a look at some of these places where we can zoom in a little bit, but also have a look at maybe some of the buildings that surround them, because some of them are old world buildings, like the neighborhoods have a lot of old world buildings in them. So I think some of these fake or phony houses that are basically designed to house electric transformers, I think some of them have been repurposed that way, and some of them may have been found and repurposed. Some of them look like old world brick mud flooded buildings, residential buildings, houses, larger houses. I think later on they, did build, Toronto Hydroelectric, which is the company that owns all of these. They did build newer ones in the 40s and 50s and 70s and whatnot. Because some of them are clearly of that build style, of that, those decades. But a lot of them look quite old. Yeah, see, that is the problem, that what happens if some kind of electrical explosion occurs and you live next door to this thing? So yeah, there's no loud parties and whatnot, but one day it could go kablooey, right?
Welcome to Scarborough. I mentioned earlier that Toronto Hydro started building fake houses after the war. A consequence of that is that they're not evenly distributed throughout the city. The older neighborhoods, many of which are in the central part, don't have fake houses. The fake houses are concentrated out in the suburban areas, and there may be no better illustration of that than right here on Brimley Road. This is a north-south arterial road. I'm a little bit north of St. Clair Avenue, and here's a fake house.
So this guy's found 5, I think, on or just off of Brimley Road. Yeah, hello, 911. My neighbor's house just melted.
Let's head on north up the street and look for some more. welcome to Nob Hill Park. We're on Brimley Road, that behind me there, a little bit north of Eglinton. And if you've been paying attention, and I hope you have because there's a test later, then this should look familiar to you. But there's electrical equipment in there, unlike the one we saw earlier. So that's what the other one would have looked like. And other than that, this is pretty much a typical fake house for Toronto Hydro. So let's continue on north and see what else we can find.
Now, sound off in the box here in the chat if your town or city has done this in the past, or used to do this and in the process of updating this, or still currently do this. I mean, this is all new to me. This isn't Toronto, Canada. I'm Canadian. I mean, yeah, I'm out here in Alberta, but originally I'm from Montreal. I've been to Toronto many times. I've got relatives that live in and around Toronto, Scarborough and Mississauga and so on and so forth. But like in the greater Toronto area sort of idea. And I never heard of this. And this guy made this video because there was people online talking about this is in New York. And he's like, New York, yeah, we got it up here in Toronto too. So boom, off he does and makes this video. Not Smooth Steve. Who does a great job, by the way, in this thing. I mean, I was, busting his balls a bit at the beginning here. We're just having a little fun, It's nothing to get crazy about.
All right, we're having a good time. And
yeah, he finds 5 of these things just on this one road.
Well, here we are a little bit north, farther up on Brimley Road. That's Lawrence Avenue just behind me. And what to my wondering eyes should appear but a third fake house. Let's keep going north, see what else we can find. And here we are just south of Ellesmere, and right behind me is fake house number 4. I'm going to put an asterisk on this one. Asterisk. Thank you. Because although the front of the house and its driveway are on Brimley, its official street address is actually just around the corner on that little side street. But it's on Brimley. All right, let's keep going.
This guy is like a bloodhound for finding these things, man. Like, props to Steve. Jabiru Joe says, I was borned in Toronto. I wonder if I grew up in a fake house. Vaughn's saying in Oz, they're usually in industrial areas, and they're larger. Oh, so they don't have to worry about having little transformer substations in the residential suburban areas. Gotcha. Might be some in the major cities here, though. New to me. Ah, okay. Yeah, you never know. Like some of the big cities in Australia, like Sydney or Melbourne, or, the usual suspects, the usual big city names that we all are familiar with. It's possible. I mean, I don't know. As far as I know, Calgary doesn't have this, or Edmonton, as far as I know. I mean, there are transformers that are in people's front yards. I mean, the city just plunks them down in your front yard, and they're maybe about the size of like a telephone booth, like a old-timey telephone booth, with the door on it and everything. Maybe short, half the height, but roughly the same footprint. And they'll paint them green to match your grass and, plant bushes around it. But boom, there it is, right?
And now we are a little bit south of Shepherd. That's Brimley Road behind me at the end of the footpath. And here is fake house number 5, which, like some of the others we've seen, does still have transformers in the back. All right, enough of the fake houses.
See, now, this one, it looks like it has a house that's all closed in, and it has a peaked roof and a little chimney there. That's cute. It's almost like they're making fun or poking at us a bit with this, and saying, yeah, repurpose. All right, we got your repurpose right here. We still do it, just on a smaller scale, instead of repurposing a former cathedral, whatever health function it served in the old world. We've repurposed it to a quote unquote, church, a religious building or structure. This is just on a smaller scale. So this one looks like it's a house that has the open back end of it, the exposed portion, just added on to the back. So at one time, was this actually a house? Now the other one, it only had 3 walls and, the roof on it. Roof? But this one looks like a full house in behind him there. Just right in the center of the picture or the screen where his ear is and where that door is. You could see above that door, it's a peaked roof. It looks like a full roof. So it looks like they've added a brick addition of 2 extra walls that jut out the back. They got their chain link fence with the barbed wire, and they slapped some transformers there. Whereas some of the other fake homes that are in this guy's video, the missing back wall is on the main body of the house. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, isn't it? So it's not just me, right? I'm not just losing my marbles here. Like, this is weird, right? Hey, a hippie shake in the box. Good to see you. Good to see you. No, that's not me, by the way, hippie. That's this is not Smooth Steve, YouTube content creator. He's, I believe, out in Toronto. He's filming in Toronto. And these are fake houses in and around Toronto and some of the suburbs of Toronto that supposedly starting in the 40s through to about the 1970s, the electric company, the hydropower electric company in Toronto, built these fake houses in residential neighborhoods to hide electrical transformers, because they're noisy and unsightly. And so they build a little house around it that fits in with the other houses in the neighborhood. This video just randomly came up in my YouTube feed, and I'm like, what in the Sam hell is this? What in Sam Steele is going on here? Oh, don't you worry about that. Better late than never. Good to see you, as always. We got Kimmy in the box as well. Howdy, Kimmy. Good to see you. Oh, shucks. I don't know about that. This guy's got more hair than I do. Steve's got more hair than I do. Anyway, let's see what else he's offering up here. So this is, I think, the 5th one on the same street that he's found.
Now I want to show you some electrical substations that are also disguised in plain sight as buildings, but as buildings other than houses. So let's go.
This part I found really interesting because they're not just little bungalow style houses.
We're on the west side of the downtown core, and this is Duncan Substation, built in 1910. Back then, this area would have been largely industrial.
By the way, why is that door so high off of the sidewalk on that main street there? The green door? It's weird.
Industrial buildings such as factories and warehouses, so this building would have looked right at home. And next we're going to head back to the Danforth for another older substation built in 1926. It's a rather handsome building. Back then they put some effort into the architecture even for utilitarian industrial buildings. Probably the best example of that in Toronto is the R.C. Harris water treatment plant.
Now this building, like, call me crazy, but could this pass for a Carnegie Library or, I don't know, here in Alberta, this would almost be like a, like this almost looks like the courthouse, the old courthouse here in Calgary, the old court of, that was later the Court of Appeals, right on 7th Avenue. I did a mudflood boots on the ground video of that building a couple of winters ago, and cousin Vinny was with me on that one too, actually. But no, it's, just like the power station buildings at Niagara Falls for the hydroelectric there. There are these beautiful embellished old world buildings with intricate brickwork and stone enhancements on them.
Building with magnificent Art Deco design both inside and out, as you...
Yeah, or a school. This one especially too could look like a school. This is a different building.
You can see in these photos. It still supplies a significant portion of Toronto's drinking water to this day. But that's water, and we're talking about electricity. So let's move on and look at a really unique-looking building.
Old World Michigan saying, "Hey Frankie, do you know about Frank Lloyd Wright, etc.?" There's a couple of the more famous architects and architectural designers that the more well-known names I've heard of too. And I know his sort of style is that sort of low lines, clean, that clean lines, flat roof, kind of stretched out bungalow style kind of a look, right? But I mean, I don't have intimate knowledge on different architects and their styles. I couldn't necessarily spot, a Frank Lloyd Wright home or building necessarily. Yeah, or maybe an old world apartment complex. Sure, there's buildings like that here in Calgary too, like the Lorraine, which supposedly has always been an old apartment building.
Now, everybody knows we have a castle in Toronto called Castle Loma, but we also have this, Glengrove Substation, built in 1930. And it looks like a castle.
I don't know of any direct links between this building and Sir Henry Pellet, who built Castle Loma, but there are links between him and our electrical system. Sir Henry owned the Toronto Electric Light Company, an electrical utility in the late 1800s. That company, or a descendant of it, built the Toronto Power Generating Station, seen in this photo, one of the early hydroelectric generating plants at Niagara Falls. The provincial government ended up owning that after taking public control of electrical generation in Ontario.
So here on the channel, I've done a live stream about Castle Loma and another building close by that looks like a castle in the Toronto area. And I also did recently uploaded a vintage footage, old world video of Niagara Falls power plant. Oh, I see. His houses were the same, they look like pump houses that he repurposed. Ah, okay. That I did not. That theory or that idea I was not familiar with. No, I just kind of thought he was one of those guys that was some new school architect that just designed ugly buildings. Well, I mean, everything's in the eye of the beholder and everything's subjective, beauty and whatnot, but just very flat, bland looking structures. You know what I'm saying? At least what I'm told, some of his houses were supposed to be. But, okay, now I get what you're saying. Now I get you.
Also, in some parts of Canada, including Ontario,
This place
the word
definitely looks
hydro
like a
is used to
castle.
refer to electrical utilities because hydroelectric generation was a major part of our electrical supply. These days, hydropower only accounts for roughly a quarter of Ontario's electricity, with nuclear providing over twice as much, but the name stuck. Many of our electrical utility companies still have the word hydro in their names, and we call our electrical bills hydro bills. Now, just before we head off to look at one more building, check out those doors. They're a nice touch, don't you think?
Even normie, not so smooth Steve, or not smooth Steve here, remarks on the doors, right? Because the doors are so big and so tall that the door knockers / door poles, the rings, the handles, they're down pretty low. They're on the lower set of the three or four sets of hinges there. Actually, no, there's 5 sets of hinges, and the top hinge is kind of curved. I've never seen that before. That's pretty interesting. Oh, yeah, exactly. If you need an electrical substation or an electrical building of some sort, yeah, you just build this medieval castle, or what we're told is what a medieval castle is. With a big wooden door, might as well be a big drawbridge. Big massive stones with turrets and everything on the darn thing. Why not, right? Oh yeah, as a form of sort of spell casting, for lack of a better term, right? It belittles or denigrates the old architecture because they repurpose it in a way that detracts from its original purpose and its beauty and its function and the marriage of form and function together, right? And it's, possibly, yeah, could be out of jealousy that not capable of doing much of the same craftsmanship and work today. Not without throwing billions of dollars at
Call our
something.
electrical bills hydro bills. Now, just before we head off to look at one more building, check out those doors. They're a nice touch, don't you think?
Speaking of huge doors, look at the doors on this place.
We are in Midtown, just a block west of the intersection, often called Young and Eligible. The building on the corner was built as an electrical substation in 1920.
Really?
As you can see from the signs all over it, this site is meeting a very common fate in Toronto. It's being turned into condos. This building has a heritage designation, so it's going to be sort of preserved in the usual Toronto way.
Look at the slope of that street there. Wow. And a perspective of those doors, like there's somebody running in front of those doors there. Let's see if I there. Now watch somebody in black trousers, slacks, pants was running by wearing a white top, shirt, chemise. Anyway, give you an idea of the doors. Those doors are like 15, 18 feet tall.
We're in Midtown.
Hey, that dude or person went about a third of the way up the door. What in the hell?
So it's going to be sort of preserved in the usual Toronto way. The facade is being incorporated into the new building. Finally, we're going to head several blocks east along Eglinton to wrap things up.
And that brings us to our last stop. This space behind me used to have a fake house. It was torn down several.
Okay, well, this one, there's nothing there. It was torn down, and now these two buildings that were built share the space. Basically, each one of them got half of the old property added on to each one of the flanking apartment or condo complexes there. So, and that's about it. So yeah, there you go. They're from Not Smooth Steve. I was flabbergasted, and again, that just came up randomly in my feed. I'm like, what in the hell is this? My pal Bill is here, and he says, didn't some of those rich families have a few giants in them? Yeah, I think some of the like we often hear about the some of the elite families and problems that they had with interbreeding to try to keep the family bloodline pure and stuff. But every once in a while we hear that more commonly, but every once in a while we hear about stuff like giants as well. Yeah. Yeah, well, that's going to be the official story and why the doors are so big, so they can get machinery in there. But I mean, once the concrete pad or floor is poured, or maybe you'll have a basement to it. If it's a taller building, it would have a basement and a bunch of substructure. Then you put the machinery in, and you basically build the rest of the building around the darn thing. I mean, I don't think you necessarily have to have big, huge doors to haul machinery in and out of there. And yeah, are they tall but not wide? Like these old dynamos and stuff like that, and these turbines, I mean, they're huge, huge. Not going to fit through those doors. The doors aren't wide enough, yeah. So where are we at here? About an hour. Let's quickly... let's quickly drop down here on the goggle maps. Real quick, fast, and in a hurry here. And let's see what we've got here. I'm just going to cue it up here real quick. So some of these are going to be from that video. Sorry, what am I doing here? Sorry. Technical difficulties. No, it's operator error. That's what that is. That's what that is. So hopefully you can see this okay. So yeah, there's that Toronto hydroelectric system, the substation. Let's just drop the guy down on all these here and just have a, I remembered to pin him this time. Come on now, little guy. This is that one that looks like a castle. Looking a little stout to a guy, right? Stumpy. It looks like it almost could be another floor or two. Would make it look a little bit more balanced. Incredible stonework on this thing, though. Been there a while with all of this growth on it. Yeah, what do you need to do all this for? You know, it's a old electrical substation building, man. Got that water treatment center building as well here. This thing is outstanding looking. First of all, even the buildings across the street. Venetian shell over the door of this building. Beautiful brick buildings with arched windows here. Massive stone wall. So the neighborhood itself, even the back here, you got a big old brick building. But then you turn around and you see this thing. Why is it? It's very pickleated, unfortunately, but this is just, you know, a water treatment plant with all these low windows that look to me like they're shooting right down into the ground. Train going by in the background there. You can hear it on the channel here. Toot toot. Some of these are... Come on, Goggle. What are you doing? What does this sort of a multifaceted jewel-looking carving here have to do with electrical substation buildings? I'll never know, but again, the adjacent building, this building down here, arched windows, stone detailing, stone accenting. Some modern crap here, but these are beautiful too, with the mansard roof with the dormers. The stone work here, look at that. It's beautiful. Oh, it's a massage joint. Sure, that's... why not? They give them these terrible names. Toronto Hydroelectric Substation D. This makes it so boring and uninteresting to look into, you know? Why would I want to look up a building called Substation D? Well, because it's got some of this beautiful shenanigans all over it. This was in his video. 1910, eh? Okay. Sure. I guess this is some kind of loading dock. Yeah, loading dock. Or it's been repurposed to be a loading dock door anyway. Originally, I bet you this was the main door. It's got something weird going on here. Bet you this goes down further. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. But, well, here you go. I think this door may have been added later on. Once this building was salvaged and repurposed, because this door is right in the middle, and it's a big, huge door. So I bet you this went down further, and this main door went down further. But now this is one level. I bet you when you walk in this door, you got to go up some steps to get to that level. But anyway. Trying to find this. Take me to there. There it is. Come on now, goggle. Now this one they're doing some work on it or something, but nice brickwork here down the side. Yeah, this is what you need here at a electrical substation. Toronto Hydroelectric. Wow, it's big too. It's short, but it's, it goes back quite a bit here. It's short, but it's long. Pardon, doesn't make sense. Those old factory windows. What's going on down here? Anything? Anything going on down here? Just a phony foundation, probably. Let's see. I'll look at a couple more here. Yeah, there's a couple of houses here that, yeah, see, like this one. Come on, man. This is definitely not operator error. This is Google's messing with me here. It's not taking me right to these places like it's supposed to. I'm sorry, folks. Bear with me here. There we go. Ah, yeah, for crying out loud. This is weird. It just is not cooperating with me. I even got a new mouse and everything. Let me just slow it down. Slow down. Don't get too worked up here now, Frankie. I mean, some of those houses were, sure, they say 40s, 50s style bungalow. But something like this seems awfully extravagant for a phony or a fake house, does it not? I mean, is all of this necessary? I mean, granted, it's, it looks like it's in a nicer neighborhood, or it has, a lot of these buildings, and they say that's kind of the idea, right? Is you want it to fit in with the surrounding structures, but I mean, come on, man. And again, that's a full house. You know what I'm saying? It's not the half goofy thing. 2 floors, windows, the whole bit. What's this? So I don't know, man. I mean, you got stuff like this in the neighborhood. Pretty hard to tell them apart. You know? Whoa, what's going on here? All kinds of everything going on with that one. Wow, Anyway, there you go. I did also pin the houses that he showed in his video, but there's no sense revisiting. Yeah, those ones with the mansard roof with the dormers, beautiful, right? Yeah, like some of them you could sort of tell, you know, they look very, what's the term I'm looking for? Just sort of very bare bones function, you know? You just look at it and you're like, okay, it's just a brick rectangular box with a roof on it, you know? But some of them are, and again, not the big substation buildings now, just, you know, the little houses. A couple of them are quite gussied up. It's like, why go through all that trouble? It just seems very strange. So I think some of them may be old world buildings that were repurposed, and then just like everything else, you know, uncovering the old railroad systems and reverse engineering, getting that working, and then uncovering more track. And then later on, they just add track, right? I think that's kind of the same thing. They may have repurposed some of these old buildings and changed them to substations. Some of these, what are now called houses, not just the big buildings, and put little transformer substations in those too. And then later on, as they needed more, as the city grew and the electrical grid and the electrical system expanded in the 40s, 50s, 60s, then they did start building some of these from scratch. But I think a lot of it was repurposed or reused. Especially those big buggers. You know, downtown in old Toronto. Anyway, what are we at here? About 20 minutes past the hour. So I think we're going to do a mid-show break here, and I'll give you a sneak peek at your midweek coming up. Vintage footage for this coming Wednesday. This one's a little bit longer. It's about 15 minutes. And this is something that I've shared in the past. So some of you may have seen this already on a former live stream, but it hasn't, it's never been shown as a regular upload. So this will be coming up Wednesday. I'll give you a look at it now. This is the video that I made where I had found a record at a record shop that's called The Story of Mr. World. And supposedly this record came with a globe from this company starting in, I believe, the early 60s. So I recorded the record into a digital file, uploaded it into my video editing software, and then I just found some old NASA space program footage from the Gemini and Mercury missions and put all that together. So that's what this is. So again, it's about 15 minutes. And then when we come back, we'll have a look at some of the photos that George sent me of the Toronto and area train related, especially the beautiful Union stations. So this is the story of Mr. World. Again, it's about 15 minutes. So stick around and we'll be right back right after this. All right. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.
The world is so full of a number of things, I'm sure we should all be as happy as kings. It seems fitting to begin the story of Mr. World with the words of Robert Louis Stevenson, the famous writer and world traveler. For now, you have a world of your own, filled with more wonders than you ever dreamed of. Turn your globe slowly and watch its countries, islands, and oceans fly beneath you, as though you were an astronaut miles and miles above the Earth. Your replogal globe is a miniature model of the Earth itself. Because it's round, like the Earth, it shows us who all our neighbors are. Look straight down at the North Pole. Isn't that a surprising view of the world? Notice how many great countries form a circle around the pole. See how close we are to northern Europe and Asia. Alaska, our vast 49th state, almost touches the coast of Russia. The Bering Strait between is only 56 miles wide. Pretend you're flying from Chicago to Tokyo over Alaska. We have a habit of saying Japan is in the Far East, but you can see now that Japan is really near west from us. Doesn't your globe give you a new idea of directions? Now look at the United States and Canada, and you'll see that they're almost the same size. On one of the best-known flat maps, called a Mercator map, Canada looks twice as large as the United States, and Greenland looks larger than South America, though your globe shows you that Greenland is much smaller than Brazil. Because your globe is round like the Earth, it shows the true sizes and shapes of countries. Listen now to the thrilling sound of the space age.
3, 2, 1, fire.
Trajectory A-OK.
Here's an exciting way to use your globe. Track the path of the astronaut as he orbits the Earth in 88 minutes. Use a crayon on the glossy globe surface. It'll wipe off. Follow the spaceman as he swings into orbit over Bermuda, sails above the Atlantic and over the heart of Africa, zooms across the Indian Ocean and over Australia 5 miles a second, then speeds above the blue Pacific, home to the United States. And here's something mighty interesting. Even the astronaut is using a globe in his space capsule to pinpoint his position at all times. It's fun to find places you study about or hear about in the news. But there's so much more your globe can tell you about our world. All the lines and symbols on it have a meaning. Look at the lines running east and west around the globe. Then notice the lines that cross them and run from the North to the South Pole. They're like streets in your city because they help us find places on Earth. We call them lines of latitude and longitude. You may be surprised to know that they were invented by the ancient Greeks over 2,000 years ago. When you read your book, The Story of the Globe, you'll discover all the fascinating uses of these important lines and symbols. Because it's a true likeness, let's imagine that your globe really is the Earth. Like all planets, Earth is a great traveler. In fact, planet is the Greek word for wanderer. The Earth is like a spinning top that never runs down. It spins very fast, over 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. And as it spins, it keeps moving around the sun at the amazing speed of 19 miles a second. Mr. World's trip is a long one, 600 million miles. It takes him a little over 365 days to make one journey around the sun. That's how the year got its length. It's hard to realize we're traveling with the Earth at such terrific speed. If you were going 80 miles an hour in a train, you'd feel you were traveling very fast because buildings and telegraph poles would flash by as you looked out the window. But we can't feel Earth's motion because all things around us are moving at the same speed, even the air we breathe. Maybe you're wondering what keeps Mr. World from bumping into the sun or taking a wrong direction. Well, there are two wonderful laws in the universe that work like a tug of war to keep the Earth in orbit. One is called gravity. Throw a ball up into the air, and you'll see how gravity pulls it down so you can catch it. No one knows what gravity really is. It's one of the unsolved mysteries of the universe. The sun, the planets, and even the moon have the pulling power of gravity. The bigger a thing is, the greater its pull. Earth moves so fast, it would fly out into space in a straight line if it weren't for the pull of the sun. Earth's speed creates an opposite pull that equals the pull of the sun. This is the other law, and it's called centrifugal force. Space scientists call it the G-force. And that's a clue to the way scientists are using these laws now. When a spaceship travels at just the right speed, 5 miles a second, and high enough above the Earth, the inner pull of gravity and the outer pull of centrifugal force become equal, and the astronaut stays in orbit around the Earth. The spinning Earth is always turning a new face toward the sun. This makes time different all over the world. Here's a game you can play to watch a day grow around the Earth. Have someone represent the sun by shining a flashlight at your globe while you darken the room. Turn the globe so North and South America are facing your imaginary sun. Now it's daytime in this part of the world, while the other half is in darkness. Keep turning your globe slowly from west to east, the way the Earth really turns. See the sun come to Hawaii, then Asia, Europe, and Africa. In 24 hours, the Earth has made one full turn, the time it takes the sun to complete its round-the-world visit. Now you see why the clock was invented. Our wonderful old Earth is responsible for the way we measure time. Your globe has a special clock that tells you what time it is anywhere in the world. It's the black and white dial over the North Pole. If you set the dial at 9 o'clock in the morning in Chicago, you'll find it's 3 o'clock in London, and it's midnight in Japan. Here's another of Earth's mysteries. Your globe tips at an angle, just the way the Earth is tipped. If the Earth were straight up and down, the sun would strike all parts of it the same way year around. We'd always have the same season, and days and nights would always be the same length. Life might get very dull for some of us if we could never look forward to the joys of winter. See spring come with returning birds. Enjoy the long days of summer, or thrill to the glorious colors of autumn. Earth is the only home we've ever known, and it seems very big and important to us. Its surface, almost 200 million square miles, would hold 65 countries the size of the United States. But do you know the sun is 12,000 times larger than Earth? And Earth isn't the largest planet. 8 other planets revolve around the sun, all different sizes and distances away. They're all members of one big family called the solar system, with the sun at the head of the family. And scientists tell us that the universe contains thousands and thousands of solar systems. Our closest neighbor, only 240,000 miles away, is the moon, which circles the Earth once about every 28 days. Someday, when we travel to other planets, the moon will be a good stopping-off place. The moon is much smaller than Earth, and its gravity much weaker. You could jump 6 times higher on the moon. But because the moon is so close, we feel its gravity. It works like a magnet, pulling the tides in our oceans. Twice a day, our oceans rise and fall because of the moon's gravity. Scientists say some of us will learn to live on the moon, but it won't be very comfortable. For one thing, the moon has no air. The first astronauts will have to walk around in spacesuits and carry oxygen with them. As more astronauts come, they'll build bases filled with air that can always be kept at the same temperature. This is important because the days are 2 weeks long and temperatures rise higher than 200 degrees. When night comes, it also lasts 2 weeks, with the temperature plunging to 200 degrees below zero. And the moon is a lonely place, filled with huge, deep craters and jagged mountains, higher than those on Earth, with no grass or trees anywhere, not a living thing. So far as anyone knows, the Earth is the only world with all the right ingredients to support man. 3 billion of us, in fact, along with 500,000 different kinds of animals and 250,000 species of plants. Earth has just the right atmosphere, and its distance from the sun, 93 million miles, gives us just the right temperature and amount of light. Chances are we wouldn't want to trade it for any other planet. Earth speaks in many voices. Listen. There's the gentle sound of ocean surf. And here's a familiar sound, a spring rain. Earth has angry voices, too, when it speaks, in hurricanes, volcanoes, earthquakes. But there is one voice that has never been heard before, the voice of old Mr. World himself, the way he might sound if he could speak to us in our own language. Mr. World, how was this wonderful, orderly Earth of ours formed in the first place? And how long has it been going on?
I am the Earth, the planet you call home. Scientists believe I'm at least 4.5 billion years old, but no man yet knows my true age. How did I begin? Many scientists think I was once part of the sun, that another star approached too close, and the masses which broke off became planets. Others believe I started as a spinning ball of flaming gas. I grew cooler and changed into a boiling, bubbling liquid. Ages went by before I cooled enough to form a crust on my surface. But I was still very, very hot inside. Liquid fire burst through my crust, breaking it up into rocks that shot high in the air and collided in a boiling mass. It took millions of years before my crust finally became a solid surface. Gradually, it grew thicker, rising and folding to form mountains, hills, and valleys. Heavy clouds closed me in, hiding the face of the sun, and a deluge of rain fell for thousands of years, forming my streams, rivers, and seas. At last the rain was over. I felt the rays of the sun. Then came the winds, and all the forces that gave me weather and climate. Rocks hold the secrets of my past. Search them to learn the events that shaped my history. How long will I live? How long will the sun live? I do not know. Only the great creator of the world and universe knows the answer. And 1,000,000 years is as a day in his sight.
All right, and we are back. Welcome back. Thank you once again for shooting in. Joining a fella here for another one, another live New West Reset live, episode 71 here tonight, this evening, this morning, this afternoon, wherever the case may be for you. So once again, thank you for shooting in and joining me here for another live one. This is Phony Houses and Real Train Stations of Toronto. The top of the show, we looked at fake houses in Toronto that were supposedly built to house electrical transformers and substations, and then other large buildings also built to house larger substations. But I think a lot of them are older than they say and were repurposed. Sure, I think some of them perhaps were built when they said they were built, especially the little nondescript little tiny bungalows in the residential neighborhoods. But some of them are a little suspicious to a fella, to say the least. Anyway, thank you very much for joining me here. Once again, I appreciate it. It's Friday, June 21st, 2024, just after 6:30 p.m. local time, mountain time. Still above 20 degrees Celsius here right now. So, mid-70s Fahrenheit, not too shabby. So thanks for kicking off your weekend here with yours truly. Appreciate it, as always. My favorite day of the week. It's Friday, don't you know? So yeah, the whole thing came about from a weird video that was just recommended in my YouTube feed, and I clicked on it, and it was that Not Smooth Steve doing a tour of a couple of these places in the Toronto and Greater Toronto area, Scarborough and Mississauga too, I think, actually out there in the burbs, I think. Anyway, I thought that was fascinating. It was just so random that it popped up, and I'm glad I clicked on it. Now, that was new to me. I had never heard of that before. Apparently, it's done in New York and some other cities. Pretty sure they don't do that here in Calgary or Edmonton. I mean, I'm not positive on the Edmonton thing, but I'm pretty sure. I don't know if it's just a hydroelectric thing. A lot of the East, they get their power from I think 40% of their power comes from hydroelectric. Out west here, it's more the, we have some hydroelectric, but a lot of it is also, well, and then in Canada, we have the nuclear too. We have the nuclear power plants, or kyber crystals, or whatever's in those things. I don't know. But anyway, you got, coal and natural gas power plants as well. So yeah, that's that. So at the top of the show, the first half of the show, as I mentioned, meetup coming up, 1,500 subscriber meetup. 2 days, count them, 2 days. Only 2 days away from this thing. Sunday, the 23rd of June, obviously. 1 p.m. local time, mountain time. Going to do a meetup and mudflood walkabout in Inglewood. So if you'd love to join me, I'd love to have you. If you want some more information, I've got a couple of videos as reminders uploaded on the channel, or you can reach out to me, feller's email, links down below. It's also marked on my location map that Cousin Vinny was kind enough to put together. Let's have a look at that and see what's going on with that thing. The New West Reset location map. There's my icon for all the places that I've hit, including a couple of out-of-town places. But the meetup spot is right here in green. The Dean House in Inglewood. just south of Fort Calgary. This is a great thing that he's got set up. For example, you click on something like this, and then it gives you the, some information, nice thumbnail, gives you a link. You click on that link, and it takes you to the video. So that's pretty cool. Opens it up on a new tab for you and everything. So yeah, there it is, the meetup spot, the Dean House, Sunday, the 23rd of June, 1 p.m. Ah, yes, thank you. Thank you, Hippie. Yeah, she's put the link in the box as well, in the chat there. All right, so in this part of the show, as promised, George Prokopenko very diligently sends me some great photos, and he shared a bunch that, because the guy loves trains, right? And anybody that's been around here for a while, I've made no secret of it here on the channel. I love old trains, the old steam locomotives, the old electric streetcar, trolley, tram things. It's just even the old turbo diesel, electric diesel, I should say. The trains that started coming out sort of in the late 20s, early 30s. They look very Art Deco kind of inspired. Almost like the video we just watched. They almost look inspired by, the space age and rocket ships. Like the cars in the 40s and late 40s, in the 50s, right? Started putting fins on them and stuff, the things that look like afterburners on jets and stuff. It's like, is that a car or is that an airplane? No, it's a car. It says Buick right on it. Well, she sure is pretty, Anyway, before we get into the photomographs, let's quickly have a look, because there's a couple of the Union Station. There's actually been, I think, 3 Union Stations in Toronto. So let's, I just sort of bookmark the Wikipedia here just so we could have a look at that real quick, because I'm sure there's some shenanigans going on. So the first Toronto Union Station, 1858, was a passenger rail station located west of York Street at Station Street, south of Front Street in downtown Toronto. It was built by the Grand Trunk Railway and opened in 1858. Railways arrived in Toronto in 1853, and the first passenger train left Toronto from a wooden depot located near Bay and Front Street. This was the line of the Ontario, Simcoe, and Huron Railway. It was followed in 1955 by Great Western Railways, which connected Toronto to the west along the waterfront from a station at Queen's Wharf. Grand Trunk completed its Montreal to Toronto main line 1 year later. 3 railways now converged at the Toronto waterfront, a narrow strip of land south of Front Street. They were forced to share the limited real estate available. Oh no, you know what happens there. As a consequence, here we go. The Grand Trunk Railway built the first Union Station in Toronto in 1858 at a location just west of the present Union Station. There's that beauty there. In the present, we'll have a look at some of the photos. Those are some of the pictures that George shared. The location was landfill, southwest of Front and York Streets, then the intersection of York and the Esplanade along the water. Station consists of 3 wooden structures and was initially shared with the North Railway of Canada. So this narrow little strip of land, and they're all duking it out. It opened June 21st, 1858, known simply as the New Station. 3 GTR trains departed daily to the east, to Montreal and Kingston, and 2 to the west through Guelph, Berlin, and Stratford. 1864 delegates from the Charlottetown and Quebec City conferences of the Canadian Confederation were welcomed at the station by a huge crowd, which then escorted the delegates to the Queen's Hotel on Front Street. 1866, the Great Western opened its blah, blah, blah. Okay, there you go. So that's that one. And then there was the other train station as well, which was built in 1873, we're told. This also on the Wikipedia. And again, links for these below in the box, in the description box. So Toronto's second Union Station was a passenger rail station located west of York Street at Station Street, south of Front Street in downtown Toronto. It was built by the Grand Trunk Railway and opened in 1873, replacing the Grand Trunk Railway's first Union Station located in the same location. So they built the first one in 1858. And then what's that, like 15-ish years later? I guess they tore it down and built this new one. So the first Union Station in Toronto was built in 1858. Yeah, location just went. The station consists of 3 wooden structures and was initially shared between the Grand Trunk and Northern Railway. On the Toronto waterfront. Okay, so by the 1870s, the old station was no longer adequate. The Grand Trunk built a new Union Station on the same site that opened July 1st. Oh, Canada Day. There you go. July 1st is Canada Day, eh? It's at the same time, it was the largest and most opulent railway station in Canada and was designed in the Italianate slash Second Empire style by architect Thomas Seton Scott, born in Birkenhead, England. Okay, sure, whatever. Who later designed Grand Trunk's Bonaventure Station. That in Montreal. Builder was John Shedden and Company. Shedden, really. The chief engineer was Grand Trunk Railroad's E.P. Hannaford. The main entrance and facade faced the harbor, facilitating transfers between boat travel on Lake Ontario and the railway. There you go. As the Grand Trunk absorbed several smaller railways serving Toronto, passenger trains were increasingly consolidated at Union Station. The arrival of CP in 1884 increased traffic at the facility to over 60 trains a day. Yada, yada, yada. You can look at the rest of that at your leisure. Once again, links below. So yeah, you got to have nothing at all. I mean, I didn't really dive too deeply into it. I suppose I could look into it if it's keeping me up at night. But what did they do for a station in the meantime when they tore down the old one and they were building the new one? It was built on the same site, right? So I like different if one was, built a block further down or across on the other side of the tracks, or I don't know. And it was a pretty big bugger that they built, considering, the land was limited, so they say. Anyway, let's have a look at some of these photographs that George was kind enough to share. Once again, these are courtesy of George Prokopenko, friend of the channel. Usually sends me 1 or 2 emails a week with some great photographs. So you probably recognize this first one here right out of the gate. It's from the thumbnail, obviously. But this is the Toronto Union Station. Obviously, the second one built by the Grand Trunk, but on the same site of the original, which was a couple of wooden shack type buildings. Then they go from that to this. Get 2 towers here, 2 domes, 2 cupolas with domes, slightly different styles. Well, there's one here too. I wonder if there was maybe 4. It's hard to tell from this picture, but even this in the background too. Look at this. I don't know, just the shape of this thing with these. I want to say these were like airship mooring stations, and then these were the hangars for the airships. They could park them in here at night or to do maintenance or whatever. It just armories often look like this and have this shape too. What we're told are armories. The Mawada Armory here in Calgary looks just like this. Just doesn't have these big beautiful towers with the cupolas and stuff. Yeah, I'm surprised that they didn't. Oh, we had to build this new one because the old one burnt down. It was made of wood. I'm surprised that we didn't get that. There's a train station by that other railroad that was eventually gobbled up by the Grand Trunk Railroad. But look at this. This is incredible. And again, you know, it's not enough to put a dormer in this super steeply pitched or sloped roof, but then it also has a little peak on it. And then it's got its mini tech mirroring or emulating this larger roof with its tech on it. Look at this. It's crazy. You need all this for a train station, do you? And then the slopes down, of course. It's a crow's nest here for the guy watching for the train and for traffic and stuff. A signalman up here, I guess. It's crazy. Look at this beauty. I mean, come on, man. Absolutely beautiful. Can't even tell what that is. That looks weird, doesn't it? I can't tell if it's an I and a V or if it's a V and, or I mean 4 lines. No, it's 4 lines, isn't it? It's idiots. Anyway, beautiful building. But again, you know, if you didn't have this portion in the tower, this could be a bank, a Carnegie library. Yeah, stunning building. Look at this thing. Oh, come on, man. Really? What's down here? Why is this all excavated down here? What's going on here? This looking like some kind of, I don't know, Greco-Roman or building or something, or some kind of like the Congress in the U.S. or some, you know what I mean? Some kind of important government building down in Washington, D.C. or something in, I don't know, Greece or something. I don't know. It's crazy. But no, it's just a train station with a big-ass door. This funny excavated lower level. Another one down on this side, too, it looks like. Yep. With a door that goes, looks like it goes under the street here or whatever. There's the Royal York Hotel, because Toronto used to be called the city of York, don't you know? But it got confusing with York, England, and New York, New York. So it's like, all right, Toronto it is. But look at this. You can see, yeah, very limited real estate here. But apparently they had room to build this behemoth. This thing back here is no slouch either. Terminal warehouse. Even this thing, too. There's the streetcar there. Wow, what a nightmare. You can see a bit of the roundhouse here. I've got a photo of that as well. What's going on in this photo? Go ahead, Need Up. Old World Meemaw in the box. Good to see you, my brother. Howdy, howdy. Trains, tunnels, star forts, and castles done by all our great-great-grandparents, but just no records. Yeah. I mean, I was lucky enough to know a couple of my great-granddaddies, but most especially my dad's granddaddy. My pops' grandpops, you know what I'm saying? I think he passed away when I was 7 or 5 or something like that. And he was old when he passed. He was 98 or something. He was old. But I know like what he did for a living and where he was born. I know he worked for the railroad. He worked for CP Rail. Yeah, that's right, Bill. Built by the children of stagecoach drivers. Yeah, going from mule to building this gloriousness. Here's the interior of Union Station with all this shenanigans and all of this stonework. And just, we'll just carve the names of Canadian cities up into the stone, apparently. We'll do a parquet herringbone pattern with what I'm assuming is some kind of marble or granite or something. Marble, I'm thinking. These big, huge, arched entranceways. Like, why? Why? Here's where the people come in and out, right? Boy, through here. But you get this. And all this up here. Oh, and of course, she goes down a level or two there, eh? But again, look at this. This is just silly. They got silly with this ceiling. But you see, it's curved, big curved ceiling. That's why I think this was like a garage or a hangar for dirigibles. They parked dirigibles in here. Outstanding. Windows way up here. I guess to let in light, but it's plenty big windows here too. You know how much it costs to heat this thing? This is in Toronto now. This is Canada, eh? It gets cold here in the winter, bud. Even on the outside. Big stone pillars or some kind of, I don't know, concrete or something. Above the doors, you've got all of this shenanigans. But meanwhile, this door is just a huge arch. They've just put all of this in here. That's how it looks anyway. It's just kind of stretched out a little bit, unfortunately. But again, you can see that detail there. And then, as you enter the station itself, the entire ceiling looks like this. There's that roundhouse. The rotating tabletop. Train comes in here, just goes in there for service or load or unload passengers or whatever. This rotates around. A freight train comes out and they send it off down a certain track. You get the idea. Rarely used anymore. This photo is fairly recent. I mean, in the greater scheme of things, this is, I want to say this is mid-70s. Oh, there it is, 1972. Okay, because there's an old Impala or something here. 70s. A couple of late 60s cars here, but if you work for the railroad, hey, there's Volkswagen Beetle. If you work for the railroad, you're making some pretty decent money. So you're driving a fairly newer car. There's another Beetle. Oh, there's a Westphalia Volkswagen. The van, Volkswagen van. But even this in itself, I mean, I think this is old world tech too. And that's a massive roundhouse. $1923. This is before basically where you had to wait to cross the track on Bay Street, as opposed to the train running under now, I believe. Look at this shenanigans in the background. This here. Beautiful. Even the old jalopy looking pretty cool. Auga, get out of the road, kid. Anyway, look at this. There's your tip off. What are we going to repurpose this thing into? Train station. It just has all the signs of train station. A lot of times they tear them down too, once the passenger rail service kind of isn't really a thing here in North America anymore. Here, even in Canada, really, too. I mean, there's electric rail service and there's the GO train in Toronto and stuff like that. But, each city might have a subway system or, a light rail transit system. Like Calgary has a light rail transit. Edmonton has one. Vancouver has one. Montreal and Toronto have got subways. These things just get torn down. But I mean, why? You could convert it into a condo or a restaurant or a community center. But no, they always knock them down. It's beautiful brick and stone. All of these angles on this, the beautiful workmanship. So this is underneath when they put in a bunch of viaducts in through Toronto to allow a flow of traffic. This is a more modern picture. It's from the 70s. But just see here, they just put these big, huge steel beams or all these rivets and these big, massive beams here, and the train just runs over here now. So you don't have this kind of situation anymore, which is ridiculous, right? So I think the rail yards are just down here. So you could potentially be waiting there all day, buddy. I hope you got a sandwich. Hope you packed a ham sandwich. What's going on over here, by the way? What's this? Booze? Something king. Roman Jelly King? Does that say jelly? Yeah, Jelly King. All right, no idea. I can't read that. That definitely says Jelly King. Sleeping Giant. Okay, I have no idea what products are in this storefront. What are you hawking there, you huckster? So this is the first Toronto Hamilton Buffalo Railway train to pull into town. What are all these kids doing? Did these kids just come off this train? Is this an orphan train pulling into town? Or are they getting ready to load the kids up into the train? All right, kids, who wants to go for a train ride? And you end up on some farm in Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan. You end up on some farm in Weyburn, Saskatchewan, hey? Jabaroo Joe says that was the Gardner Expressway in the background. Ah, see, there you go. Maple Leaf Stadium was down that way as well. It's where the Toronto Maple Leafs AAA baseball team used to play back in the 60s. Ah, yes, the old Maple Leaf Stadium. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure what's going on with this photo. But I guess if it's the first train to roll into town, I mean, everybody's going to come out and look at the train. But where are all the women folk? Is the other thing that's odd and a little off-putting. You just got all the fellas and then all the children's. Ladies don't like trains? Ladies like trains. Oh, is that ladies? Maybe a couple of ladies hanging out the window. But I don't see no women folk here. Howdy, Sheriff. Aren't you a little out of place in Toronto? Shouldn't you be in Regina, Saskatchewan, or Calgary, Alberta there, partner? It's kind of a creepy photo. So George threw in a couple of the electric streetcar train. Does that say New West? No, it says New Market. Oh. I should edit this so it says New West Reset on it. That would be great. But yeah, George threw in some of these too. The electric streetcar, or trolley, tram. This bridge is wooden. Well, the bridge itself's wooden. Obviously, the rails are not. The track is not. But a wooden bridge with electric on it. Yee! Over water. Is that... this is in Newmarket, Ontario, by the way. Pretty sure that electricity and water and wood and zapping and stuff and like dried shrubbery, in certain circumstances, they're not good friends, right? There's fire is what I'm trying to say. There you go. Big iron trestle bridge for the big boys. Look at this beauty. It's a big 4-on-8. Wow. Get in, will you? You're gonna eat. This guy's hanging out here. You. That's the guy who also hangs out the sunroof of a limousine and screams Yahoo or look at me. Meanwhile, every once in a while there's a sign sticking out of the sides of these bridges. It's going to come by and whack this guy and knock him into the middle of next week. This one not as impressive, but just make note of the stonework here going right down into the creek. The river, the creek. That's right. International Order of Oddfellows. Did it say that on the train? No, but that could be what these, if that's an orphan, if this is in fact an orphan train, and they just labeled it the first Toronto Hamilton Buffalo Railway train in town or whatever. But it's actually an orphan train, that would make these fellers odd fellers, because that was their thing. They were the whole orphan train guys. I just thought that was a cool looking train. I think that's like the GO train or something. Oh yeah, it is. It says right on it, GO! So yeah, that's the GO train. It's like a commuter train. But that's not the most fascinating thing. It's this fella here doing some fishing. Any luck, buddy? No, not so far, it looks like. Got his flip-flops on. You shouldn't be fishing in sandals or flip-flops, first of all. But secondly, you're looking down. Do you even realize what you're walking on here, buddy? What are these doing here that you're walking on? These big giant stones. He doesn't realize. Speaking of big giant stones, it's a nice bridge, but inside, there you go. A couple of 100,000 old brick in there. See, it's like a facade stone here. It's not a big, thick stone. It's like a couple inches thick. And they just back butter it and slap it on. So one wonders what this looked like prior to that. Was it just all brick? Seems like it might have been. Looks like it might have had something going on around here. Very interesting.
So, Tommy, where have you been, huh? I've been watching Newest Reset. Huh? Well, you know, it's Newest Reset. It's this thing on YouTube. He goes around, he does his boots on the ground thing. They'll tell you.
Say you care.
There you go. Now there's a nice looking old timey trestle bridge. Get these big giant 4x4s or 6x6s just soaked in like creosote or something. You got some big wide boards here, and then your big iron or steel trestle, and there you go. Concrete or stone here or whatever, brick, and Bob's your uncle. It's not even used anymore. It's still standing. I love this shot. First of all, it's in color, which is great. But you got this old train going on what's a little, I guess what's supposed to be a little bit more of a modern bridge, right? An iron or steel trestle bridge. Then you've got the old here in with the new. Just a great shot. So I guess they rerouted the track when they built the new bridge, I suppose. But even the new bridge has elements of, you know, some of the old world just never dies, right? Gonna use some stone. Oh, there's some sirens for everybody. Stone down here too. There's more people doing some fishing. All right, take it easy out there. What is going on? Jeez. Anyway, sorry about that, folks. Look at this. This is the craziest looking drawbridge or elevated bridge I've ever seen. Like maybe usually you see both ends lift, or maybe the whole thing just lifts level, right? But this thing, can you make this thing? It looks so simple, but it's got to be the most complicated, goofy. I mean, obviously, large ships are not coming through here. This is just for boats, I guess, but I can't even really see with all these mechanisms how this thing would have worked. I think it's up permanently. I don't think it's even functioning rail bridge anymore. It's just really, I mean, this thing looks like it's seized up. You need a hell of a lot of WD-40 and axle grease to get this thing going, I think. Anyway, that is it for the for that folder of photos. So once again, thank you very much to channel friend George Prokopenko for sharing those with me. I'm very happy to share those with you. Some beautiful trains and trestle bridges and old stone supportings and footings for the bridges. And of course, those train stations, both Union stations, the old one and the new one. The CP1 and the Grand Trunk Railroad, both of them, just beautiful, beautiful buildings. Bill asking, what's your opinion? Is that old school or modern? Oh, that one photo with the, let me pull it up again here real quick. Let's see. This one here. Is that the one you're asking about, Bill? So I think this is a modern photo, but it's one of those old school trains, like it's some, you know, tourist thing or something like that. But I think this was old world. I think this goes way back, and this was the original bridge that went over this waterway. And for whatever reason, maybe it was damaged in a cataclysm or in a reset or something, and they couldn't repair it, or who knows. And then whatever reason, they diverted the track and built this. Maybe the excuse was to allow for a second track. Maybe this was single track. It does look like it's only wide enough for single track. But again, this is just the stone support. I mean, you know, you could come out on either side a couple of feet here. It still wouldn't be enough, I don't think. So maybe that's the reason. I don't know. But this one here, that's really hard to say. It looks like there's some kind of shenanigans here with this discoloration here, like concentrated in this area, but then this one isn't. So has there been some repair work to this thing? This looks kind of beat up and battered. But there's a line going here. And the same thing. Ah, come on, man. And the same thing on this side. So these could be large stones. See, this looks like a larger stone here. These could be the narrower sort of facade stones that are only a couple inches thick. So maybe where this seam comes down on either side, this is that narrower stone. I don't know. It's hard to figure because there's some blackening here too. On the other side of the seam here, but there isn't here, you see? Like this is just very, very hanky looking. But you can definitely see where there was sort of a scalloped or sort of a sawtoothed element to this thing of what looks to me like a different kind of stone, a granite or something. And this does not look very thick in here. You see what I mean? Even if some of this is shadow, this doesn't look very thick. Then over here, this stone looks quite thick. So again, you see, it's just, this one's a real head scratcher. The brick that lines the inside looks very clean. Clean meaning undamaged. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know. This could be big stones here and here, but this could be that stuff that's just been applied over top of something that was in here. So the brick came to this, and then this was bordered with, again, what looks to be granite or something. You see, it's got a different texture than this. It even looks like it's smoother, whereas this is rough hewn. And these look like just like thick stone tiles. But it's hard to say. This whole thing could be brick underneath this. So yeah, this one, I don't know. I'm baffled and befuddled and bewildered. So yeah, your guess is as good as mine. You let me know in the comments, in the box and in the comments, what you think of that thing. Yeah, and bedazzled a bit too. Yeah, absolutely. Baffled and befuddled and bedazzled and bamboozled and discombobulated. Anyway, so there you go. That is it. I think I'm getting ready to wind this thing down here for tonight. But before I do that, a couple of reminders again. If you're tired of hearing about it, well, you're going to hear about it one more time at least. Coming up day after tomorrow, Sunday, June 23rd, 1,500 subscriber meetup and mudflood tour. We're going to go on walkabout in Inglewood, one of Calgary's oldest neighborhoods. About 6-7 blocks of sort of the main high street there of beautiful old world brick buildings, stone buildings, combination of the two. A couple of side streets where there's old schools, an old convent, a couple old churches. Heck, even if we have time, we'll go all the way down to the end and see the old brewery, maybe. I don't know if we'll have time, but yeah, we'll meet up, grab a coffee. We'll meet up at the Dean House there by Fort Calgary, just on the other side of the Elbow River from the fort. 9th Avenue southeast there in Inglewood. We'll grab a coffee and we'll go on walkabout and we'll meet up and do some glad handing and say hi and hello to everybody and some get to know you, and then we'll explore some of these buildings. And I'll get some footage for everybody, put it up on the channel. So I'm really looking forward to that. I can't wait. I'm not going to be able to sleep tomorrow night. I'm going to be like a kid at Christmas. Still going to be taking a trip up to Edmonton later in the summer as well. I'm going to visit my old stomping grounds up there and check out some areas, and then probably get a couple of videos out of that as well. A couple of individual buildings, and then maybe sort of a long format walkabout video as well of some areas in Edmonton. Cousin Vinny and I are going to be returning to Heritage Park. It's a theme park, amusement park, styled after a circa 1900 prairie town. And all the buildings there are not reconstructed. They've been moved there from parts of southern Alberta, little towns, where they were going to knock down the old church or knock down the old train station. So they moved it to this Heritage Park here in Calgary, and they built this little, like a living museum. Last summer when we went, we missed a few things. So we're going to go back and hit what we missed. So keep your ocular sphericals locked onto the channel here for that stuff. Also got a couple of road trips planned, and I'm still trying to coordinate my schedule. with a coworker who is a Freemason, so he can give me a tour from a Freemason's perspective of all the buildings they built here in Old Calgary, in old-timey, rootin' Wild West cowboy cowtown Calgary, you see, and see what he has to say about that. So that'll be coming up sometime on the channel in the summer as well. And, a few other projects. And of course, as usual, every Sunday you'll get some boots on the ground. Wednesday, you'll get some vintage footage. You get a sneak peek at your upcoming one this Wednesday. And then back here every Friday for the live show. That said, though, next week I got to flip-flop it again because I got to work late Friday night. I'm sorry. I hate bouncing around like that. I like to have consistency. But I'm going to have to switch boots on the ground to Friday and the live stream to Sunday next week. Not this coming Sunday, but the following Sunday. And it is what it is. That'll be the Friday the 28th will be boots on the ground instead of live. And then Sunday the 30th will be the live. So, and again, I'll post on the channel as a reminder. So again, links for everything below, Wikipedia, and I also found a blog that basically goes along with that video that we watched from Not Smooth Steve and the fake houses of Toronto. There was a blog that had most of those buildings on it, so I posted a link for that in the description down there as well. Again, my email, if you want to get a hold of me, send me some ideas, some photos. If you want to join me for the meetup, get a hold of me on the email. And then MeWe, Rumble, BitChute. Of course, we're broadcasting simultaneously on the Fighting platform right now. So howdy to everybody on both YouTubes and the Rumble. And again, thank you for all of you and your support. And those of you that are watching this after the live, after the fact. Appreciate all of you as well. So that's going to seal the deal here tonight for Frankie. New West Reset Live, episode 71. Phony houses and real train stations of Toronto. So thank you once again, everybody. I really appreciate it. Until the next one, take care out there and have yourselves a good one. All right. And anybody that's going to be there Sunday, we'll see you Sunday. All right. Take care, everyone. Cheers.
It's a mystery. It's a mystery wrapped in a riddle inside an enigma.